Prateek, Sharad, good to have you with us. How have you been?
We have been
All
good.
good.
How are you, Ashu?
I'm doing very well, Sharad. It's a pleasure to have the both of you with us. We're doing at the back of an absolutely spectacular event that you guys are doing in Surat. And how you're bringing Surat to the, in a way, evangelizing the cause of startup investing, but also bringing in Surat as one of the top destinations when it comes to capital contribution and entrepreneurship within the country. I mean, Surat's always been celebrated, right? Surat needs no introduction whatsoever. It's always been a place and a city which is resonated with the finest of entrepreneurs and who've represented a lot of grit and passion and motivation to build very large enterprises, right? Not a lot of other regions in the country can kind of claim that a title of sorts. So it's good to have you with us. We've always continued to believe that Surat will continue to lead the charts. There's a lot of effort which has been made, right? But I think this is possibly one of the largest that you're doing. I'd love to start this conversation with a quick round of introduction. Prateek, starting with you. Sharad, I'm going to come to you. And then we're going to talk about the scale of the event that you're putting together and, what's going to happen. And then we're going to talk about Ivy Associates, right, in the conversation about all the good work that you've been doing, right? You've been backing a lot of startups. You've been the first ones to kind of check. You've been participating in some of the most rocking ideas, right, which are changing the shape and dimensions of how consumers consume in the country, right? We're going to talk about all of that. But a quick round of introductions to start with, and we move into the conversation from there on. Prateek, over to you.
So hi Ashu, hi everyone. I'm Prateek Toshniwal, chartered accountant by profession. Started my journey with KPMG for 3 years, from 14 to 17. Then started my startup journey. Since then, I have invested in more than 70 odd startups in various segments, and we have believed strongly that the next generation or next decade of entrepreneurship belongs to India, and we want to start from Surat.
Super. Sharad.
Hi everyone, my name is Sharad Todi. I come from a family managed business background. Our core business is finance. We run an RBI registered NBFC. We have been into investing sector since a couple of decades, but then in startup ecosystem, we have been investing in more than 5 years. This is the great opportunity that lies around in the market, where everyone, according to their capability, should actually explore the startup ecosystem and as an investment per se. Cause the times are changing, it is going to boom, and the future is startups.
Interesting. Super. Thank you for doing that. Gentlemen, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think especially after 2020, for what we've seen, I think there is a need for agility, right? There's a need for a lot of innovation. There is a need for, a rapid sort of pace and almost a level of madness, right, to solve for the challenges that exist, right? And I think startups essentially offer all of that, right? Of course, there are a variety of other conversations that continue to happen, but I think all of the critical requirements of a developing economy and the aspirational economy that India is, I think startups will definitely be the most significant catalyst in this transition and the change that we're going to see, right? Before we dive into talking about the event, the scale of the event, right, which is absolutely magnanimous. I'd love you to give me a little bit of a background, Prateek, to Ivy Growth Associates. How do you position yourselves? What are the check sizes? What are the areas that you're looking at? What are some of the investments that you talk about? Sharad, you can add to that. Prateek, I'll have you to start.
Sure. So Ashu, what we do at Ivy Growth Associates is build entrepreneurship. We are sector agnostic angel network who make sure that we make startups to a journey of 5 to 7 years at least. It is one of the most illiquid class of asset and riskiest as well, right? So we join hands with the right kind and like-minded people, and we make sure that our angel network is the one who starts issuing the check first. The check size can be from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. That's okay, but we syndicate up to $500,000 for startups. To start with, it was a very interesting story. The first ever pitch day we kept, we had 3 strong startups. One was Webeber, one was Valuationary, and one was Reference.
Right.
And on that very day, we doubled our investment ask by the startups itself. And we started with a bang, and now in over a 6 to 8 months period, we have already invested in 42 startups, on a way to invest to at least 75 by end of this year. And the journey is long ahead. We have joined hands with like-minded investors who know that with the risk in the market and the right segments that you choose for the future, this is the way it is. Our core focuses that we make sure is EV sector, health tech, edutech. We have been very strong in agri-tech. And now for the future, I believe sustainability and health will be very, very important with Web 3.0. So that's what our core focus will be.
Super. Interesting. Prateek, thank you for doing that. Sharad, would love you to add to the dimensions that Prateek gave us, and I would love you to name a couple of companies that you've invested in, right? I mean, Prateek, of course, gave us 3 companies that you started with, but I'd love to understand a little more about the portfolio.
So, like Prateek said, one of the startup, our first investment in the initial days was Valuationary. So God has been kind enough to give us the exit also in 8 months. So we have already had one successful exit in Valuationary. And a few of the startup portfolio that we have is e-motor arbitrage and EV cycle sector. One is Blue Smart. Blue Smart is we are investors in Blue Smart. Then we have a couple of edtech like Hobbit, and then we also have an fintech in our portfolio. So it's a mixture, and it's a bag of all the kind of sectors that are there. But yes, we have been trying. What wonderfully we have been managing is that we also handhold the startups. We help them to nurture. We help them to grow. So in IVY, we have 4 founders, and we all 4 come from different background and different set of network. So we try to get all those networks tapping into one platform. And we have always believed that money is the byproduct. If you are doing the right things at the right time, money is eventually going to follow. And in today's time, if you are at the right place at the right time with the right network, it is actually going to be beneficial. So that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to explore our network with the startups. So it's a mixture of traditional business owners plus startups plus. So every stakeholder in the ecosystem is our part, and that is what we are now expanding through our best efforts.
Super. Guys, I think one thing that I would love to clarify, right, and I would love you to clarify actually, right, in the process is that, when we think of a city-based, network, right, say something, Ivy Growth Associates coming out of Surat, right? So the common understanding and, certain visualization and picturization that you have is that, largely it will have a concentration of local entrepreneurs or local businessmen, right? While that is true, you are not limited to Surat, right? I think you have, a much larger network, a very global sort of a network that you're bringing to the table, that your startups that you're investing in can leverage, right? Why don't you tell us a little more about that, Prateek? Shad, I'm coming to you in just a bit.
So, Ashu, I always believe, like you said, we might have our bases in Surat, but we make sure that every 2 months or at least every, in every quarter, we visit one more city in India and make sure that the founders co-interact. In the locals founders with the, different city founders. That's first step. The second step is connecting these entrepreneurs to global. We always feel that, and I've spoken to a lot of startups who say that you're not finding, right kind of co-founders. I said, I'll give you co-founders. Tell me the industry that you want. You want a CTO, you want a CFO. We have people from different places who are working on different technologies and ideas. You just need to meet the right people. And I am proud that today we have so many startups, and to name a few, we have already named. These are all startups from Surat, by the way, Weber, Valuationary, Reference, all Surat startups. So to see them give us exit, to nurture them, Surat is growing leaps and bounds. But I always believe, sometimes in this journey, you need to make sure that you're also exploring the other markets. Local is fine, but if you're not global, with the local base, there is a lot of dry powder that you'll be missing, and that is the right mix we always follow. And that is what we've been doing.
Awesome. Sharad, I'm going to come to you, right, on a specific question, right? Now, India is not, limited to urban markets, right? When you talk about the startup ecosystem, you talk about investing in the startup ecosystem, largely what we continue to celebrate is, the contribution which is coming from urban markets, right? Now that tendency has changed in the last couple of years, right? A lot of traditional business owners have started to participate, right? On a lot of occasions when you're talking to founders, right? They're not necessarily there's a certain dissonance, right, when it comes to the mind matching, right? And that's largely because traditional businessmen look at profitability in a certain common way. They look at certain sustainability and sustainable practices in a certain way, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? A business eventually has to fend for itself, right? It cannot be built on external capital funding, right? One, I'd love to understand, right? You're coming from Surat and you have a very thick hold within the business and the trading community within Surat, right? A lot of these practices become very important. I'd love you to explain how some of this is being, how are some of your startups leveraging all of this understanding and knowledge of very minute observation, granular observation while you're building a business, right? How is it helping them? Would love to understand that.
So, Ashu, what is happening is, like you said, that a traditional business and a startup business operates through a different business model, I would say. But if you see, the base of any business is same. The base has to be correct, the basics has to be right, and from there you have to build upon any business or anything that you are doing, correct? So with the traditional experience coming into it and with the modern technology of startup coming into it, there is what I always believed is a good established traditional business, second generation or the third generation are not wanting to go ahead with the traditional business that fathers or grandfathers, maybe ancestors, are doing. They are getting their support network and background of traditional business into a startup as an investor.
Interesting.
And startups who have good innovatives or different ideas are actually leveraging the traditional benefits that an investor is getting. So that is one context if you look around. And I would add on to that now, especially after 2020, everything has become so global that, for example, even in our event, so we have people from US, UK and Israel also participating in the event. So a startup from Israel is coming. So it has become very, very easy to interact with anyone if you want. Correct. So that's how the entire global system is just booming. Yeah. Right. So that's all about it.
Super.
Can I add a few things here, Ashu, if you give me a minute?
Absolutely.
What Sharad said, I always make sure with my discussion, and I had a discussion with my father also a few days back, because he's in his late 50s, and he always tells me, you guys are so hard on startups and you think that these are good industries to invest. So I always tell him, right, that when you started 32 years back, you started as a startup, right? You did not have anything, right? So you can just relate that with today's technology and advancement. That's a startup. You're just investing in that. Earlier, people used to take a lot of loans or money from your friends and family. That is exactly what startups are doing today. So I know there is a risk element involved, but if you do a good study, and I always say this, when your people, process and product is right, and you have your patience and perseverance, payouts are absolutely going to be there. So these are the 6 P's that we follow to the core at Ivy Growth Associates. And day in, day out, we make sure that, that experience with technology is a must.
Interesting. And I think, my sense is, your life would have become a little easy, especially after 2020, because, technology-driven businesses or technology-first businesses is actually the way to go, right? A lot of traditional businesses are also transitioning into, technology-led environment, right? I mean, that's the truth of, what we're going to live with now. I think it's become a very savvier consumer market, right? And I think traditional businesses also will have to tide over, right? So while there was, this apprehension of sorts, right, that the market's continue to be offline, so on and so forth, right? My sense is, I think a lot of traditional businesses are, with very open arms, accepting this shift towards technology, right? I think they realize that survival and their ability to compete in the market is going to be driven by technology, right? And thus it also becomes a good point for them to understand startups in a different way. So that's a good timing and good this thing for you. In that sense, guys, we have to talk about 21/72, right? Now that's we've alluded to it, right? That's an absolutely spectacular event that you put together. There are hundreds of speakers who are coming in. There are 5,000, 7,000 plus audiences who are coming in. Many more going to be logging in digitally with this event, right? Possibly one of the biggest events outside of government initiatives that I've seen. There's a lot of resonance in the market which is around it, right? Why don't we talk about that, right? Sharad, we'll start with you. Prateek, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah. So it's a 3-day offline event We have people coming from 6 countries. So from US, UK, from Singapore, so few of them are especially traveling from Dubai. So these guys are seasonal investors, real estate players from Dubai who has a very, very clear specific thing in mind to come and invest in Indian startups, because they also see what beautiful 10 years India is going to have. Okay. So we have more than 100 startups exhibiting. We have more than 20-25 VC funds plus angel networks coming to the event. We have 25 selected startups who are going to pitch in front of a VC jury panelists who are going to raise funds. And we have a lot of speakers and investors, panel discussions who are going to share knowledge about investors and startup founders who are going to share about their experiences. And there are many other activities which I would want Prateek to also contribute for this answer.
Sure. Prateek.
So Ashu, I always believe that if you disclose everything, people might then pick and choose what they have to do and what they not have to do. So I only add to what Sharad said. This is an opportunity to meet 200 startup founders from different sectors. This is an opportunity to meet the right kind of people from the industry of venture capitalists and angel networks. And this is the right time that you start preparing for your next 6 to 12 months of runway of capital that you want to raise. Because there has been a patch right now where people might not be able to raise capital. But on the other side, I know people are raising millions of dollars. So you just need to be ready. You need to be in Surat on 17th, 18th, 19th of June. And trust me, this is your way to start your journey for the next 6 to 12 months.
While of course I am excited about all of this that you're doing, right? With all the stakeholders in the startup ecosystem, technology ecosystem coming together, right? Great speakers, a lot of investors, a lot of institutional investors, a lot of global investors coming in. One thing that I'm particularly excited about is that a lot of people who are not necessarily part of the startup ecosystem coming together and being a part of it, right? I think that motivation and that tone that you're setting in, I think you're possibly in a way, creating a dent at a DNA level, right? Of how a region has to think, right? How a generation has to think in terms of, what future possibly holds, right? And I think this is going to be a phenomenal event of exposure for, I think, a lot of those stakeholders. That to me, that shift is very, very significant, right? I think, you're kind of underplaying it, you're not talking about it. But I think
it's not about underplaying, Ashu. And as a team, we've always believed that a lot of people tell me that VC funds are not approachable, angel networks are not approachable. Trust me, Ashu, in this event, I have made sure that our team core members' numbers are given. Why? Because we know and we want to bridge that gap, that we are reachable, we are approachable, and we want to help you connect to the best of the people from the industry. So, all of that is happening from the bottom of our heart, from everyone. There is absolutely, I'll be proud when I say this, when I think in April, Sharad and I and Arachit were starting to discuss about this event, I did not have so much of confidence from the other members of the team who were working under us, from my own brother, that how are you going to pull off this event? Every night, every day, Sharad and I have discussed, argued, thousands of things. But at the end of the day, I am and Sharad are at a position to proudly say that it doesn't matter what we thought 2 months back. Today, we have pulled off an event where we have people from 10 states, 15 to 20 cities across the globe. We have an Israel startup, who having a stall in India, in Surat, where the direct flight is also not there. So if someone has an excuse not to be here, I am sorry, then it is your loss. But people are traveling from different parts of the world, and Surat is going to be the city to be watched.
I think it's just a starting point, Prateek. I think it's just a starting point. You've just set the ball rolling, right? I think there are many, many more and bigger things that are going to follow. Prateek, Sharad, this is so spectacular, right? Like I said, right? I think you're creating a larger tent. And the good thing to see is that, a city which is outside of, say, the top 3 or 4 cities in the country, where you're hosting this, right? I think that is very, very critical. That is very important. We have to have many more cities who can come in, right? And my sense is this is going to motivate many other stakeholders in many other cities, right? Cities like, Jaipur, cities like Lucknow, cities like Indore, who are going to get motivated, cities like Chennai, right, who are going to get motivated to do things at this scale, as spectacular, as large, as grand as this is. Guys, we're towards the end of our conversation, right? What is it, this is just the starting point, right? Something that I just kind of mentioned, right? What are the next few things that you've set yourself for with this in an event format as a community? Of course, I'm going to talk to you, more about Ivy Growth Associates in just a bit, right? But what are the next pieces that you're looking at post this event coming to fruition? Sharad.
So post this event, we are wanting the Surat startup ecosystem to grow. Capital abundance in Surat city is unbelievable. So people from diamond industry, real estate industry, textile industry, for that fact, any industry that is pursuing in Surat, the capital abundance is unbelievable. Okay.
Sure.
And we strongly believe that Surat can actually be a much bigger place than, to be very honest, maybe Delhi and Bombay as the ecosystem. And we actually see that coming. We actually see that coming in coming 4-5 years. That's one takeaway that we will have from this event.
Right.
We are wanting the startups to have a good collaborative exposure with each other. That is going to be one thing that is going to actually happen after this event. Yeah.
Interesting. Prateek, I'd love to end this conversation on, what are the next 2.5 years for Ivy Growth Associates, right? That's an important piece. What you're doing is essentially a reflection of how you feel and, visualize things. And that's magnanimous, right? But what is it that you've set for yourself between you and Sharad, right? What are the next 2.5 years like? What are the milestones that you've set for yourself?
So one is definitely, reaching out to at least or assisting or mentoring 250 plus startup founders.
Interesting.
And when I mean mentoring, I know all the startup founders whom I've invested money. So that's, we do not only co-invest, we still talk to the founders and make sure to reach out to them. So that is the first important step, because this decade needs right kind of, connections.
Right.
Second is how to take Indian startups global. How to make an impact and make India, the city of the world, or a country of the world. So that's the second most target. And third is, to make Ivy Growth the one point contact to reach out for any start of, journey, whether it is entrepreneurship, cohort based, or when you want to raise capital, because Ivy is also coming up with a fund, like I said, and you do not know what we'll have in store for the next 2.5 years, but these are the few steps that we have in our mind.
Super. Guys, an absolutely spectacular conversation. We wish you all the very best at Asia Tech Journal. We are partners to this event. We've had the opportunity of working with you very, very closely. It's been an absolutely phenomenal ride. Knowing you, knowing your vision, the kind of impact that you're trying to create, right? I think it's impressive at many, many levels. Typically the size and scale of what you're doing, right? At least the aspirations that you have, is usually visible when you're thinking of a government-backed initiative, right? Or certain communities coming together, community initiatives coming together, right? It's very difficult to think of, a privately held institution, creating this kind of, the scale of the event. It requires for a very different kind of motivation, very different kind of, the ability to create an impact, right? It's very, very good, right? It's been a pleasure to host the both of you. We wish you all the very best. Thank you so much for doing that, and more power to you, right? Godspeed, more power to you, and look forward to having more and more such large-scale activities happening, and the dent becoming even more thicker as we go along. All the very best.
Thank you so much, Ashu.
And thank you, Asia Tech Journal, to have us covered. We definitely wish to aspire, acquire, and achieve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.